There is a common belief in my home country that witch doctors can control lightning. They use it to strike people who have wronged them, and most commonly, they use it to strike people who have not made a full payment on the services that they acquired from them. I learned about this in the scariest way possible. I was 9 years old at the time. My friend and I were walking from school, and it was during the raining season, so it could just basically rain at any moment. So while we were still walking, we're a fair distance away from school. It started raining very, very, very hard. So I remember my friend suggesting that instead of going back to school, let us go to her aunt's place because her house was actually closer than school. So I decided to go with the whole idea of going to her aunt's place. So when we got to the place, there was water that had accumulated at the gate. So we couldn't go in straight. So one could go in using the left side or the right side. My friend decided to use the left side, and I was like, let me not follow her because it's going to take longer if I do that, and I need to get to that house as quickly as possible. So I decided to use the right side of the compound. After passing the whole pool of water, so like the last thing I remember was seeing my friend running at the far end, and then there was this very, very bright light that was very blinding, and then there was this loud sound. I remember hearing this loud sound. I fell to the ground. My knees were cold. I can't forget this. My knees were very cold. I remember I couldn't feel my body. I was motionless, and for a minute or so everything was just blank to me. I couldn't understand what was happening. I couldn't comprehend the situation that I was in. I was in a complete state of shock. And then after that whole minute, I remember hearing echoes. I remember hearing people calling out my name, but it sounded more like an echo. So I could remember people calling out my name. I could remember people motioning for me to come to where they were. So I don't know where I got the courage, but I stood up from the ground. Then I started running towards the house. I don't even remember if it had stopped raining or it's still raining, but all I remember is that I ran towards that house, and when I got there were like 5 or 6 people there. This other lady took me into her arms. I was still very, very shocked. She took me in her arms. I was shaking at that very moment, and she told me that everything else will be okay. I remember her telling me that lightning had hit a good distance away from me. It almost hit me or something like that. That is what she explained had happened at that very moment. So I was really shaken, but I was really grateful for the gesture that I had been given for being held in the arms, because that is something that I really, really needed at that time. And then that lady began explaining and telling a story to everyone who was in the room about why the specific thing happened to me. She didn't use any signs or anything like that. Basically, what she said was that my parents might have angered a certain witch doctor, or me as a child might have angered a certain witch doctor. That is why this whole thing is happening to me right now. So if this situation is not corrected, then that means that this thing will follow me for the rest of my life, because it's a debt. There's a debt that needs to be paid. I was very, very scared at that time. So that is how I got to learn about witch doctors and how they control lightning and everything else. Till this day, I do not like thunderstorms at all, because I don't remember my parents doing anything that might prove that the debt has been paid. So I still believe that maybe I might owe a certain witch doctor, and they're still out there to get me.